About 4 months ago, we celebrated Easter, and a familiar symbol of that season is the Easter lily. Now, during non-COVID times, they would fill the sanctuary space with their beautiful and pungent smell. Well, a few years ago, I took a couple of those lilies home with me, but since it was freezing cold out still throughout April that year, they just really kind of sat in my basement bathroom. Now, I've always thought that the smell of Easter lilies was potent enough when they're just sitting in an open space, but their smell was pretty aggressive when they were locked up in such a small space. Needless to say, I wasn't sure if they'd survive sitting in the dark for a month or if my lack of knowledge around planting them would eventually kill them. But sometime in early May, I finally dug a couple holes in the ground and planted them. Now, I'd water them now and again and basically just crossed my fingers in hopes that they were getting enough sun or water and had the right amount of soil in order to grow. After a month, nothing had happened. They didn't really look any different. And then 2 months in, the leaves were starting to turn brown and the flowers were long gone. But then one day I noticed something. Each plant had new shoots coming out of the ground. And to be honest, I was in shock. And over the next couple of months, these shoots then turned into full-blown plants, and eventually they began to bud. Sure enough, they bloomed and released their potent smell into the air yet again. See, when those Easter lilies were planted in the ground and given water and sunlight, they only had one choice: to grow. They didn't have the option of debating whether or not they were going to use those resources for other purposes. When given them, they couldn't help but grow, and not only grow, but thrive. Now, the same holds true for us. Jesus tells us that he has chosen us, that just like the Easter lilies, we didn't choose to be planted in such an abundance of life and love. Jesus did that for us. We didn't choose to be so intimately connected with God and Jesus. Jesus did that for us. This is why in the midst of darkest night or deepest valley or heartbreak or even death itself, we can have peace. Because we have a God who is like a mother holding her newborn child. That this is the abiding that Jesus speaks of in this passage. Like a mother who holds her child close to her body, Jesus holds you close. And our reading for today is from John chapter 14. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because the servant doesn't know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I learned from my Father, I've made known to you. You didn't choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command: love each other. See, Jesus holds us in a love that is so abundant, a love that is so real, a love that is so unbreakable, that nothing we can do will separate us from that love. That as Jesus prepares to leave the disciples, he leaves them with this parting metaphor of gardener and vine and branch. But he also leaves the disciples with a command: to love one another as Jesus has loved them. Now, as we've seen, Jesus' love for God's people is a love that knows no boundaries. It's a love that lays down one's life for another. It's a love that holds us close like a mother holds her child. And now it's a love that we are called to show and share with the world. That as branches that are part of the true vine, which are tended by the true gardener, our task is now to take the love that we have been shown freely and share it freely with the world. That on this day and every day, we're reminded of Jesus' love for each and every one of us. We're reminded of the relationship that we share with Jesus. We're reminded of the nourishment and the strength that we receive from God. Jesus is Lord, yes. Jesus is God. Yes, Jesus is teacher. Yes, these are all certainly true. But Jesus is also friend. Not a feared or threatening judge, but a friend who provides us an abundance of grace and life and love, a friend who we can call on at any moment. A friend who loves you so much that he gave his entire life so that you have the certain promise of new and abundance of life right here. Not just in some distant future, but right here and right now through and in Jesus Christ, our Savior and our friend.